Every single time I keep thinking the same thing, and then I keep saying, I'm wondering if their running game is good enough, consistent enough, stout enough to keep Mahomes on the bench long enough to limit his possessions. The number of times I then get back from me on my Twitter feed when we retweet these videos out, Chris Brockman, from Bills Mafia saying, you clearly don't watch Bills games. You clearly don't see all the Bills games. I see as much as I possibly can. I literally sit at home on Sundays and put the fam on hold and watch as many games as I can. And I see a lot of these Bills games because I also have Josh Allen in fantasy, and he's just been dynamite to watch. I also had Devin Singletary in fantasy, and I dropped him about a month ago. The Bills do not have the run game. I haven't seen it for all 4 quarters in the way that they did close out the game against the Steelers. Very impressive. Can they do that over and over again? And instead of dropping Allen back and him slinging it around 40 times. I don't think that's the way he's going to beat the Chiefs. I just don't. I don't think if you're going to shoot it out with the Chiefs that you're going to walk out of Dodge
Good luck.
with fewer bullet holes than everyone else. Honestly, I would love to see a shootout between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes.
Sign me up.
Right?
Without hesitation.
And I think it would be great. And they do get John Brown back. And this is a much better offensive team with John Brown in the lineup. But when it comes down to it, can they turn to Zach Moss and Devin Singletary and say, you've got to give us 15 carries each? And you've got to give us 15 carries each to the clip of 4 a pop, 5 a pop. That's what you got to do.
Can they get 100 to 125 yards on the ground?
I mean,
I don't know, man.
Can you do that against Kansas City? So Mahomes is pacing the sidelines, and when he comes back in and they score in 3.5 minutes, you get back out there and make sure it's another 7-8 minutes till he gets a shot to do that again. That's my concern. And then the Bills' defense had about a month stretch where they couldn't stop a cold, you know. I mean, it was. I picked them back in the first month of the season. I tagged them as the team that had the best chance to beat the Chiefs and that backed off on them. It would give me no greater pleasure than to see this team with that remarkable fan base that calls me out for not knowing football.
I mean, they're jumping through tables. Rich.
No, but that's their passion, and I understand it, and they love their team. Whose run game would you take in the AFC?
Well,
hold on a second. Let's compare it.
Okay.
The Bills or the Chiefs? Which one would you take?
Chiefs.
Okay. Which one would you take in the AFC? The Bills or the Titans?
I mean, Titans.
Which one would you take? The Bills or the Browns?
Browns.
Which one would you take? The Bills or the Colts?
Colts.
Which one would you take? The Bills or the Raiders?
Raiders.
Which one would you take? The Bills or the Ravens?
Ravens.
You see what I'm saying? I mean, like, now they have to step up and run the football when it gets cold in their house.
But they don't have a guy.
They do have a guy. I think Zach Moss could be the guy. I mean, you're seeing, again, because I do, Bills fans, watch a ton of your games. I see Singletary between the 20s, and then once that's the 20, once they get in the green zone, red zone, whatever they call it, it's Zach Moss. That's what I see. And you got a kid in Singletary in year 2 and Moss in year 1, and that's it, you know?
22nd in the league in rushing.
So
it's not getting it done.
They have to, like, I would take the Bills over the Steelers, right? Wouldn't you do that? Would you take the Bills over the Dolphins run game? I think you'd do that.
It's kind of a wash. I mean, Steelers, I think right now.
Right now, you take the Bills over the Steelers.
Yeah.
I mean, you just watched it. Because they did get production from Moss and Singletary and did wrap the game up. They ran the clock out.
The other problem is both Moss and Singletary have fumbleitis. They put the ball on the ground too much.
Well, I mean, we saw Moss fumble out of his own end zone against the 49ers to make that a game for literally – that was a game –
For a
well, that was
second.
that Niners game versus the Bills was a game when the Niners stopped the Bills on their half-yard line and then went down the field, and even though they were stopped on the Bills' half-yard line, that was then a game when Moss, coming out of the end zone, coughed it right up to San Francisco. And then after that, Josh Allen's like, I'll take it from here, everybody.
Yeah.
Like an MVP-type player should. You know, that's why. But I do look at the Bill, and that's why I look again at teams that can grind it out, can keep Mahomes nailed to the bench, can have a quarterback make plays off a play action, not turn it over, and then defensively make a stop. The Browns fit that description. The Titans, if they can make defensive plays like they did in the playoff run last year, fit that bill. Who else can fit that bill? The Steelers, when they've got a run game, and they do not have one right now. It does not exist. So it's just the next 100-yard game from a Bills running back will be the first this year. And they've got to find that, I think, to beat the Chiefs. And I don't even know even if they do find it, that would beat the Chiefs. They just it's insane.
Yeah,
it's insane.
The Steelers have 100 yards, not even 100-yard rusher, just 100 yards of rushing offense one time since week 7.
Who's this? The Steelers, you said?
Yeah, the Steelers.
Okay, I mean, again, they've lost their balance. Maybe that's why the receivers are dropping so much, because their equilibrium's literally off offensively.
68 rush yards in the last 2 games combined.
I mean, that's a problem. So the two teams that are closest to the Chiefs in the standings, one is non-existent in terms of balance, and the other one has the chance to find it, and I think they have to. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.